Thank you for attending the Android mobile security webinar we're doing today. I'm Adam Licata. I'm a sales engineer with ITS. I cover all the mobile products in addition to doing the Altera suites and security suites from Symantec. Today we will be talking about the newest release, came out a couple days ago, Symantec Mobile Security in addition to Symantec Mobile Management. Both of these releases have added a lot of functionality for Android, both phones and tablets. So we'll be discussing the security needs and how the Symantec products fit in. A little bit about ITS. We focus on Symantec endpoint management and security solutions. So that includes Altera's mobile management, mobile security, endpoint protection, DLP, PGP, etc. So when it comes to mobile devices in your environment, there's different aspects of what we have to manage of those devices. We have the devices themselves, we have the applications on the devices, and the data that's contained within those applications. Symantec has products to address each of these needs. Today we'll be focusing on the device management portion specific to Androids. And within management, you have to be concerned about the security of them, how to provision the devices out to your employees, and what exactly you'll be managing on them. And so with the Symantec Mobile Security, it's going to be concentrating on the security of the applications and data that's living on your devices, whether they're owned by your organization or personally owned. With that, I'm going to actually start with the Symantec Mobile Management 7.2. This came out just a couple days ago. The official announcement will be out early next week. This release added Android-specific features on the device management side. Specifically, there's now a native agent that you can get from the Android Play Market, or you can have users download it directly from a website internally. So this allows for a public or in-house agent for users to enroll their own devices. When they're enrolling their device, you have the option of requiring authentication, and at that point you could have it check for certain AD groups for that user to authenticate to, for it to check to see if they're a member of that group. You can also have it check for certain compliance levels. So for instance, don't allow rooted devices, or only allow platform versions or OS versions of Android above a certain level. For instance, 2.2 and above. You can also manage the configuration that goes down to the Android devices. Android is a little bit more limited on specific settings you can manage on the OS compared to Apple. Apple has done a great job standardizing what you can manage on the devices. Android is still a long way to go on standardizing on what you can actually manage on the device. But for the time being, we can manage passcode settings such as minimum length of the passcode and how often does it expire. You can also disable the camera on newer devices and require encryption to be used. If you're using Touchdown, which is probably the #1 Exchange email client for Android, Touchdown provides additional configuration so that you can provision email accounts, lock down security, and even customize the way the interface looks for your end users. I'll be covering those settings more in depth. But within Touchdown, what that gives us also is secure email. It supports Exchange, Office 365, and Lotus Notes through ActiveSync. And there's a lot of settings that you can configure on there, including requiring encryption for any data stored on the device. You can even prevent the download of attachments if you want to. And there's also some DLP settings on there for data loss prevention, such as disabling copy and paste and exporting of data, such as your address book and contacts out of the email clients. So you may have seen sandboxed email solutions before for Android or iOS. Touchdown basically can give you that functionality if you want on the Android side. But again, these are all configuration settings. They're completely optional on the administration side. On Android, we can also do selective secure wipe, which is similar to what we do in iOS. You can wipe off any email accounts that you provision through Touchdown. And you can also wipe off any documents and media that you sent down through the mobile library. And the mobile library, similar to the agent we have for iOS, allows you to deliver basically any type of document or media, if it was like a PDF or spreadsheet or video, that sort of thing can be delivered securely to devices through the mobile library. So the Symantec Mobile Security product is probably new to most people. It's actually been around for a while, but it had only supported Windows Mobile 5 through 6.5 before in previous versions. The latest release, which just came out, you can actually access in the Symantec Installation Manager today, if you wish to do so. Supports Android. So specifically, it can actually do a handful of things. One is to detect malware. So you can schedule scans, or you can run an on-demand scan. And similar to SEP, or Symantec Endpoint Protection for Windows and Mac, this provides very similar functionality. So it can run a scan, look for applications that shouldn't be there. Most of the malware definitions come from Live Update from Symantec, but you also have the ability to create your own blacklist and whitelist of applications. If an application is on the blacklist, when it detects it, it will notify the user and ask them to remove it, and it will also report it back to the central console. So it can aid in removing those malicious apps as well. It also hooks into the browser, which is part of the Android OS, and every website you go to, it will check to see if it's a known website with a bad reputation. And if it is, it will block the user from visiting that website and show them a message saying why it was blocked. And it will also report it back to the server so that you can gather data about malicious websites and malicious apps that your users are seeing. There's also some functionality around stolen or lost devices. This is all performed in real time. You can remotely lock the device. You can even sound an alarm on it. You can reset the passcode, and you can even send a message to the device that becomes part of that lock screen. There's actually a free app in the Android Play. I believe it's called Set Mobile, and it provides similar functionality, except it's not centrally managed. So this basically gives you a way of managing all those settings remotely. And you can have as many policies as you want and apply them to different groups of devices. So there's not necessarily a one policy fits all. You can have as many as you want and target different groups of devices. I've mentioned this central server a few times. This is actually the Symantec Management Platform server. So if you already have mobile management or Altiris or anything else that runs on the management platform, this is just another solution that you can get through the Symantec Installation Manager. Important benefit of that is that you're not setting up all these separate servers in siloed environments and managing them all separately. These are just solutions that stack on top of each other. It really reduces your cost for managing all this functionality. That said, I'm going to jump straight into the demo. I don't like spending a lot of time on slides. So this is the mobile management portal page. You're seeing a breakdown of devices here. As of 7.2, there's a native agent for iOS, Android, Windows Phone 7, BlackBerry, and Windows Mobile. So from any of these, we can drill down. And so if I click on the Android 4, this is showing all of my ice cream sandwich devices. This is a tablet I have enrolled with the system. So on the device management side, you can see we can reset passcodes, we can lock it, we can do a selective wipe, we can have it check in and send an inventory, we can reset the passcode, we can have it check in for new policies, and we can do a full wipe, which basically sets it back to a factory default. This option is also new in 7.2. This allows you to set a flag of whether it's corporate or personally owned. And actually, when you enroll the device within the agent, it will ask you, is this a personal or corporate device? And then from there, the user can select that as well. So within our configuration editor, I mentioned you're able to set policies now concerning the passcode and other restrictions. So you can see, you can change the complexity here of requirements for the passcode, how often it should lock, number of failed attempts, length of the passcode, the history, the age, etc. You can have as many of these policies as you want, and you can mix and match them for different groups of devices to fit your needs best. From here, again, Android has a limited set of centralized management, MDM functionality, but we can require encryption and disable a camera if you wish to do so. You can provision email accounts through Touchdown, and so this is where you can specify your host name and your domain name. The system will automatically fill in the username for you. Actually, on Android, it will prompt you for that. And this is where we get into the security within the email application. And I mentioned some DLP policies, for data loss prevention to enable and disable copy and paste and exporting contacts. All of that functionality is contained within this policy here. So you can actually set up your own passcode requirements within Touchdown. A reason why you may want to do that is if you have devices enrolled on your server for some other reason, but you don't necessarily want to enforce security policies unless they're actually using email, you have that option here to set that up. From here you can control everything about the storage card. You can require encryption or disable storing of emails and attachments on the SD card. You can disable and enable what options the user has to change. So for instance, you can prevent the user from clearing out this configuration on their email client. From here, we can configure what the user can and cannot do within their email. We can disable the exporting of contacts to the local phone book on the device. My favorite is disabling copy and paste within an email. So that basically keeps all of your data contained within the email. You can even control the signature settings. Touchdown gives you very granular control over the configuration. If you have a license key for Touchdown, you can provision it from here. Or if you need to get one, you can contact ITS. We'll happy to get you a license key for that. And you can set up some additional calendar configuration. So all these policy options I just showed are specific to email accounts within the app, and they concentrate on security. If we go down to the user settings, this is going to be more about the look and feel of the app. For instance, disable tablet mode. You can even remove attachments that have been downloaded to the SD card on the device. You can disable synchronization while roaming. You can even configure which options are available to the user. They call them suppressions. And if you ever use Touchdown, you'll know there's a lot of options within Touchdown. You can configure all of these to either show or not show on the device. And within the calendar, you can even control reminders and how tasks are presented to the user. You can even set up how the calendar looks on their device. You can set the workday hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can adjust which days are shown in the calendar, default zoom. Basically any setting that you have within Touchdown you can configure from here. So I'm going to jump over to the mobile security side now. You'll see this is a portal of our threat overview. I have an exclamation point here because we recently detected some malware and even application that was blacklisted. And from here you can see the top 5 threats, and if you want you can even drill down and it will show you which devices had malware detected on them and when it was reported on, and is it still on the device. So that way you can actually see in compliance to see if the user uninstalled the malware or not. From here you can see overview of the compliance with your devices. You can see we have one device that is rooted, so it's being considered as non-compliant. But if the device hasn't checked in for a while, or if it's not updating its malware definitions, or if they disabled some part of that app, those devices will show up in here so you can track them down. And you can even see recent actions of what your administrators have been doing from the console, basically sending different commands to those devices. And from here, again, most of these reports you can drill down into and see specific devices. So from here you can see this is one device that is out of compliance. It is rooted. So get down to device management. This is showing all the devices that have the mobile security agent enrolled. It is a separate agent from the device management, so you're not required to have both of them on there if you only own one of the products, but if you have both products, then you have both agents on there. So you can set up different compliance policies for Android devices, and you can even control what settings the end user can change on the device. So for these, you'll notice I have this unchecked, which means that the user cannot modify these settings. So we have a scheduled malware scan that runs weekly. It will scan the internal storage and SD card, and if it detects malware that should not be installed on the device, you can configure basically a reminder that pops up on the device telling the user that they need to uninstall that piece of software. And you can configure the frequency for all these options here. You can even have it automatically scan for malware after you update a policy from here. So that way if you add some apps to your blacklist, it can automatically scan for that application on the device after it sees the new policy. Web protection, again, that hooks into the internet browser on your Android device. You can choose to enable or disable that here. So I mentioned blacklisting and whitelisting a couple times. Basically the way it works is you can enable this here and you create your own definitions. So I've created one for Dropbox. And basically any package that contains the word Dropbox is going to trigger this rule, and it'll be considered malware, and it'll have the user uninstall it automatically. You can have as many as you want in here. You can even import and export this list out. So live update is where the devices get the newest definitions for malware and for the safe browsing. And you can have it check daily, weekly, or monthly. If you have your own live update server, you can point to that. From here, this is where we define how often the device checks in for policies and inventory, what type of inventory you want to gather. So for instance, if you didn't want to gather location of the device through GPS, you could uncheck that. You can automatically upgrade the agents. You can disable communication while it's roaming, so you're not racking up data roaming charges. And Norton Community Watch is a feature that allows you to send anonymous statistics to the Norton team so they can track patterns of malware. And again, just like with any other mobile policies, you can have as many as you want, and you can apply them to any groups of devices that you want, based on different criteria. So for instance, you could say, I want to apply this policy of settings to all Samsung devices or to all Android devices within the sales department. You can be pretty creative with how you can target policies. From there, I'm going to switch over to my device so you can actually see what it looks like on the Android device. The green Athena icon you see, that's the device management app. So this is what's going to give us access to our mobile library, which delivers documents and media down to the device. And from here you can see everything that's being published through the mobile library. Again, it can be documents, media, but also applications. And those applications can be from Android Play, or they can be in-house applications that you can upload directly to the server. From here you can even see the health of the application to ensure that it's fully registered. On the mobile security agent, you're able to see the latest scan statistics and how often it updates and when it last updated. if there are any current malware problems or anything that's blocked recently. And you can also force a scan or an update to occur right from the device. So under settings, you'll notice that these are grayed out because on the server, we're basically forcing these settings down so the user can't change them. But they're completely configurable. So if you want to allow a user to change these settings, you can do that. So I'm going to show you an example of installing a piece of malware. If you're familiar with antivirus products, you may already know about the ICAR test. The ICAR allows you to test a piece of malware. So we're going to go into the Play Store, and we're going to look for some apps. So part of the problem with the Android Play Store right now is they're not as meticulous about the app approval process as Apple is. And so I've heard that some estimates about 10% of the applications in the Android Play are malware. When you go to install an application, it asks you for permissions of what you want to allow that application to do. Most people overlook that because they're just using the hitting approve for everything, and that's part of the problem because Android can allow applications to do almost everything, including act as a keyboard, make phone calls, read text messages, all sorts of interesting things. So I'm going to install this application. I'm going to hit accept and download. So it's installing it right now. And you'll notice that mobile security immediately found that it was installed and is asking us to uninstall it. And at this point, this created an event, and that event has been already sent up to the server. So we're going to uninstall it now. So now we're back into compliance. If we bring open a web browser, I'll show you how the safe browsing feature works. There's a test website called Spycar. And as soon as we go to it, Symantec is going to intercept it and block it. And at this point, again, it's been reported back to the server for reporting purposes. So we're going to exit the site. Next, I want to show you some of the mobile security actions we have. We can send down instant commands to the device. So I'm going to go back to my mobile management portal here. You'll see from here we have an option for securing lost and stolen devices. We can remove the device from the server. We can have it update policies and other information about the device. We can also view a quick little dashboard about that device. It'll pinpoint it for you on Google Maps, show you exactly where it is. You can see that it's already it picked up the website that was blocked. And you can see it also picked up the ICAR test. You can see different actions that have been taken on that device. Up here you can see if the latest policy is applied to that device, and it is. So from here, if it were a lost or stolen device, you can have it immediately check in and send GPS coordinates and other information about the device. You could also send an alarm to it, and you can even specify how long that alarm should ring for. And you can also lock the device or wipe it. You can set a new passcode and even set up the lock screen. So you can say, please return to myself, reward $500. Considering this tablet only costs $250, it's a pretty good reward. So I think they would return it. If you're like me, you're interested in what the alarm sounds like. It is quite loud and quite annoying, but it serves its purpose. So I'm going to send an alarm down to it. So you can see it gets the task pretty fast. We can also run a virus scan immediately on it. We can have it check in. We can have it check for new policies. There's also some logging information, so you can see exactly what the device has been doing, any suspicious apps that's been found, when a website got blocked. Will all this work if this is a personal device, and how is private, non-company data affected? So if you were to do a selective wipe only configuration that you send down to the device would get wiped. So that would be documents and media in the mobile library, in addition to a touchdown account. So any kind of corporate email account that you've sent down would be pulled back. As far as the malware scans go, that is for the whole device, and so even if they install it under their own Google account, it's still going to detect that malware. The personal/corporate option that you saw in that right-click menu, that's mostly for reporting and policy purposes. So you can report on which devices are personal, because you may want to choose a certain policy for personal devices and a certain policy for corporate devices. The corporate devices may be more locked down, so you have flexibility on how you configure a device based on whether it's personal or corporate. Another question about does the Android device need to be rooted? No, it does not. The device I just demonstrated is not rooted. I just got it from Best Buy last night, so I haven't had time to do much with it. The other device I have rooted is just for demonstration purposes. Another question we have is if you do a phone wipe, does it not wipe everything if it's a personal device? It depends on what type of wipe method you choose. There's a full wipe and a selective wipe. Both of them act the same, whether it's a personal or a corporate device. So if you do a full wipe on a personal device, it will fully wipe it. But if you do a selective wipe, it'll only pull back the corporate data, regardless if it's personal or corporate. We had another question about forcing a device to update. I'm assuming this is referring to OS updates. No, so at this time, Android doesn't give us a way of managing those OS updates like you can with the BlackBerry on the BES. I know on the Apple side, people have been asking for that for a while, of being able to manage those OS upgrades, but at this point, it's not possible. I want to appreciate everyone for coming. I hope you found this useful. We'll have more of these mobile demos in the future. Thanks, everyone.